Chapter 32. Niece. "You must have a plan," Silverbreeze commented as they moved through the locker room, casting aside the uniforms they wore whilst working within the weather factory. "Something unique? Special? Something?" Little Wing blushed profusely, feebly patting the hard hat into the locker and slamming it shut. I don't know, I'm just kind of winging it." "No, sure, it's only a massive commitment. What's the hassle?" "Which is why I'm asking you for advice, oh snarky one," Little Wing shot back. "Why me? I'm not exactly the most active in the dating department, you know," Silverbreeze replied, ensuring his locker was sealed up tight before making his leave alongside Little Wing. "Surely your own parents would be better suited." They'd squeeze so loudly she'd hear it before I even got the chance to do the damn thing," Little Wing moaned as they exited the factory, and once they were in the open air, she promptly smashed her head into one of the outer walls. "Gah! Why is asking some pony to marry you so hard?" He just shrugged in response. "Again, I wouldn't know. Just as long as you don't get cold hooves and switch to asking to go to the bathroom instead, you'll be fine." Little Wing groaned, glancing up at Silverbreeze while maintaining her forehead's connection to the wall. "Thanks, Breeze. Really helpful. I feel so much better." Silverbreeze sighed, taking hold of Little Wing's tail in his mouth and dragging her limply away from the wall. He then dropped her onto a pile of cloud near the factory, waiting for her to sit up and compose herself before speaking again. "All right, from the top," he said. "Tell me what you have got in mind so far." Little Wing's wings fluttered, shuffling around nervously. "I was thinking about taking her out on a date, getting some food, and at sunset perching us up on the highest cloud we can find to watch it. Something sappy like that." "At which point you'd ask her." Little Wing nodded sheepishly. Sounds fine to me. Just, don't take her to a fast food place. That would be a disaster of amazing proportions." Little Wing puffed her cheeks, glaring at him. "I wasn't going to. I'm not that hopeless." "Could have fooled me." Blah, he finished for her with a grin. Her eye twitched. "I hate you." "Keep telling yourself that. I'm sure it'll help with the proposal." Little Wing got up onto all four hooves, walked up to the stallion, and promptly punched him hard in the shoulder. "Ow! What was that for?" "You know what," she responded, unfurling her wings and taking to the skies as Silverbreeze moved to follow. All right, maybe I do. Ow, but your punches hurt." "Don't aggravate the Wonderbolt," she replied with only a moderate amount of smugness in her voice. Touche," he replied, conceding her temporary victory. "In all seriousness, you'll be fine. Just go through with your plan and I don't see the problem." Little Wing sighed. "Yeah, I know, it's just really daunting." "What prompted all of this?" "Scootaloo," Little Wing replied. "Months ago, when we were taking a bunch of cadets through a training session around Appaloosa. She was asking about it and I told her we'd talked about it before. Now I really want to. I really do." "And Misty has no idea?" "It'd defeat the point if she did." "True," he admitted. "When are you gonna go through with it?" Little Wing was silent for a few moments, though after thinking for a minute, she did give her answer. "The earliest? Next week. I've been working up to this ever since Appaloosa. Part of me doesn't want to wait around another second. Though another annoying part of me wants to run for the Crystal Empire and scream." "That's just the nerves talking." "Really? Gosh, I never knew that." Silverbreeze just ignored the sarcasm. "Well, if next week it is, then I'm sure it'll all go fine. Just run through it as you planned, from A to B, until you're on top of the cloud, and try not to pass out while you're asking the ever-important question. Although, feel free to do so after you've asked." "I'll keep that in mind," she responded in a deadpan. "Of course, She could end up asking you first. You never know.
That would be relieving and disappointing at the same time,
Little Wing mused, undecided as to whether she should be pouting or not.
Put a lot of thought into this.
And how much of that was a tiny little filly Little Wing running around in circles and screaming in a panic?
Almost all of it. Why do you think it's taken this long?
Silverbreeze laughed. I thought as much. But wedding bells and panic screaming aside, planning on much tonight? The two came to a hover, reaching the point where they were due to part ways towards their respective homes.
Not particularly. Misty has some novel she's been wanting to read. I'll either end up reading it with her or practicing some of my aerial moves, depending on how dull the novel is.
Not the latest Daring Do, then?
No, fortunately not. What about you?
Silverbreeze shrugged. Thinking I might have a wander around town, now that I'll catch up on the goings-on in the rest of the Equestria. I heard something about griffin problems.
There's some group continuing to make noise. Nothing major. Refusing to back down. Princess Twilight started looking into it, you know.
Well, then, I'll leave it to all the capable hooves of Her Majesty, he quipped, turning away. See you tomorrow, Little Wing.
Good night,
Little Wing called back as Silverbreeze departed. Once the stallion was gone, Little Wing turned away herself and flew off in the direction of her own humble abode. The journey was a relatively calm one from that point on, and soon enough the quaint little building came into view. Lights were on inside as the sun began to set, signifying that Misty Gust was already home. Little Wing began her descent, feeling the satisfaction of the cool air running through her feather and fur. She pulled up a short distance above the surface of the cloud cover, gliding across the fluffy white surface for several meters before she closed her wings up entirely. She dropped to the ground, coming in for a running landing that took her right up to the front door. A perfect landing, if Little Wing did say so herself. She wasted no time in opening up the door and trotting in, heading directly for the living room.
Misty! I'm home!
She called out, her eyes locating her other half standing in the kitchen with a sheet of paper held in one of her wings.
Misty? What's wrong?
Misty gave a small yelp as Little Wing walked through the living room and on into the kitchen, taking a deep breath in and shooting her an apologetic smile.
Sorry, I didn't hear you come in. I called out for you,
Little Wing pointed out.
What's got you so distracted? I got a letter for you,
Misty said cheerfully, holding the said message out for Little Wing to take.
It's from your parents. Oh? Your sister's in the hospital.
Little Wing jolted, her eyes widening.
Huh? What do you mean? What's wrong?
Misty just rolled her eyes, counting down silently for the gears in her mare friend's head to turn.
Oh!
Cloudsdale General Hospital. The moon was high in the sky when Little Wing and Misty Gust arrived at the hospital, briskly trotting up to the reception desk and all but interrogating the poor mare behind it as to where Rainbow Dash had been taken. After verifying their family connection, they were pointed in the right direction and finally left the mare in peace. The hospital didn't appear to be overly busy that night, though there were always some activity in the maternity ward. Pregnant mares arriving for checkups, the cries of newborn foals. They were all present as Little Wing and Misty Gust traversed the halls. They followed the signs hung up above them to locate the correct room, even asking for directions once or twice to ensure they were heading in the right direction. Finally, they were able to locate the correct waiting room that was positively full of ponies. Little Wing's parents, Scootaloo, and even Soaring's parents were present. Banners had been hung up around the waiting room, each one colored in pink with the words, "It's a filly," written onto them.
Wing!
Scootaloo called out as the two mares entered.
About time! What took you? We just got the message,
Little Wing replied as she approached the orange Pegasus, panting slightly from the rush over.
Whew. How is she? Has it happened? Soaring is in there with Rainbow right now,
Windy Whistles whispered gently with proud tears in her eyes.
The foal was born just a few minutes ago, Only Soren's been allowed in for the time being.
Little Wing's mouth gaped open, and she looked towards the door where her newborn niece lay within.
How long do we have to wait?
She asked quietly, feeling Misty's wing drape itself over her back. Until the docs confirm that everything's good, and Dashy gives the okay after that. Bohotov said amongst his own bawling. Oh, I hope it's soon. I have to meet the best grandfoal ever to grace Equestria.
I'm sure everything's fine, dear,
Misty assured her husband, giving him a tender hug.
Any idea what they're calling her?
Little Wing asked around, getting no answer for several moments.
They decided on a name, but haven't told us yet,
Scootaloo finally answered.
I suppose they'll tell us when we meet the filly. Damn, I knew it was due any day now, but I wasn't expecting today. Would tomorrow have been any different?
Misty Gust asked with a chuckle. Scootaloo gave a chuckle of her own in response.
No, I guess not, but still. It's weird, Dash being a mother. And we're aunts,
Little Wing announced cheerfully, her excitement bursting.
Can you believe it, Scootaloo? This is the best! Yeah, it is,
Scootaloo agreed, giving Little Wing a hoof bump.
I just hope we can meet her soon.
The desired meeting would not come immediately, however. The doctors went over several tests to ensure the safe condition of both the foal and Rainbow Dash herself. Eventually, however, the all-clear was given. They had further insisted that the meeting could wait until Rainbow had rested enough, but the Wonderbolt had insisted that it had been no biggie and wanted her family to meet the foal despite that blatant lie. The doctors ultimately kept to her wishes, under the compromise that only a couple of ponies could be admitted at once for the time being. So in that regard, Windy Whistles and Bohotov had been called in first. From the overjoyed noises inside the room, the meeting had gone very well indeed. And after they had exited with joyful tears rolling down their faces, Soren's parents had been admitted. All the while, both Little Wing and Scootaloo began to get restless and impatient, hoping it would soon be their turn to meet the young filly. And eventually, it was. Soren's parents exited, and Rainbow Dash's two sisters were given the all-clear to enter. And when that door opened up, and the bed came into view, both felt their hearts stop. Rainbow Dash was clearly exhausted, though typically trying to look like she could run a marathon of Equestria. Soren was at her side, silent and yet proud. And in Rainbow Dash's hooves, a small, sleepy foal shifted gently before falling back into a peaceful sleep. The foal had a cyan coat, a shade in between that of Rainbow Dash and Soren's. Her mane and tail were colored with a familiar rainbow, or at least it almost was, with the yellow stripe having been replaced with a deep blue akin to her father's own mane. A moment where she blinked amidst her shuffling, her eyes had been revealed to be a similar shade to the dark blue stripe in her mane. Little Wing and Scootaloo quickly moved over to the side of the bed opposite Soren, Rainbow Dash looking up at her sisters with a tired expression. She offered them a small smile as they continued to be mesmerized by the small pony.
Hey, Scoots, Wing,
Rainbow Dash greeted.
You good?
Scootaloo gawped at Rainbow.
I'm pretty sure we're meant to ask you that. Me? Nah. Girl's a fighter, like her parents. Nothing I couldn't handle.
She said with a small laugh.
Isn't she awesome?
Little Wing gave a little chuckle.
You bet. So what's her name?
Rainbow Dash looked down at her foal, holding on to her lovingly.
Little Wing? Scootaloo? Meet Sky Dancer.